It's 6 o'clock. Can we get this party started?
That was good, 10-8.
I'm gonna have a doing job.
Switch. You have plenty of options.
First of debate on that. I'll give it a-
Well, the day.
Yeah. Thank you. First item is business, public comment, and I don't see anybody online or here.
So Steve's gonna take over the meeting.
No.
This is how I call the meeting to order. It's 6 o'clock. Can we do roll call?
Yeah, you could, you could.
Because we don't have anybody on.
Fine.
Just Aaron, but.
My glasses in the car.
Um,
But I have learned.
So in the room, we have myself, Julian Orsino, Chris Barrett, Ellie Houghton. Oh, I just said it wrong. Hello, Ali. Anya Walker. Sorry, I've had a long week.
Okay, and Silva.
Thank you, Ann Silva, because I was gonna say Rise and Shine,
It still works.
Ali. Yeah. Steve Mayo acting as Aaron Kakinda, who's on the call as well. Second order is public comment. Steve, you said there's no one,
No one here and nobody online.
Excellent.
Yes. although we always appreciate public comment. Third item is meeting minutes approval from the January 29th. Did everyone get a chance to look?
I did.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the January 29 minutes.
Okay,
Second.
that's Chris with Ally, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Yep, unanimous. Thank you. On Zoom, we have with us tonight, number 4, Fine Point. Are you the principal, Peg?
Yes.
Principal from Fine Point, who, associates, who did the, market assessment back in 2007? No,
16, I think.
thank you, 16. That was 7 years. And she very graciously agreed to come and answer any questions we have and maybe do a quick review. And then offer some potential ideas for us to, freshen up the bucket. Hey, do you want to take it away?
Sure. So Julianne and I spoke a few weeks ago, and she told me you were interested in updating the study that we had done back then. And it seemed like from our discussion, the primary goal would be to update the demographics and the sales leakage information, and then possibly also conduct some new primary research, perhaps consumer research, like in the form of a direct market survey. So I have a few questions for you, and maybe you have a few questions for me, and then I have a few thoughts to share. Would it be okay if I just dive into the questions?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so I was just wondering from everyone here, if you had particular types of information that you were most interested in obtaining from the update.
And Erin, since you're here, I know you're actually not here, but if you're here and you have any thoughts, I would really love if you wanted to also add your insights. So did everyone get a chance to look at the market assessment? Yeah?
We did.
Yeah. So any thoughts on the areas that maybe Peg could focus on in updating? I know some of the spaces, they haven't necessarily changed that much, so maybe those sections we don't need to update, but that's just my opinion. So if folks had other thoughts and opinions of what we should focus on in updating the market assessment. And again, Aaron, if you want to jump in.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm just pulling it up now. I didn't have a chance to look at it prior to this meeting, so people have, it's been a little bit since I've looked at it. So if other people in this meeting have something to add, I'm sure I'll have comments in a few minutes.
Great, thank you.
I wrote in my notes that I think reassessing the demographics will be valuable. I didn't see if commercial space also included or if it was separated out office space. I think it was pretty finely.
Could you give so almost like a little more information about specifically and updating the demographics, what you were specifically thinking?
I guess demographics as far as people living in the area.
So the residents?
Yep. Residents.
That certainly has changed, correct, Steve?
I would say so, absolutely.
Yeah, I would
I'm
agree.
also,
Sorry, I'm just gonna chime in. I would agree with that with the demographics. I think this was done back in 2016. Is that correct? So we've had all the new census data come out. I think too, with any of these new reports that we've been putting out, we always are highlighting our demographic information. So making sure that any information that we have kind of highlighted in that is also highlighted in this report for consistency, and how it may fit into this economic development study as well. So thank you. I just wanted to add to that. And I can work too with Peg on what that may look like in other reports.
Okay.
I really liked that the businesses were like broken down into categories. I could see how that really strongly affected the sales leakage. I was also curious about how data was collected at that time versus like in this year in 2025, because I feel like there's a lot more capabilities with AI, but not necessarily as much accuracy.
Well, that's for sure. That's what we're finding with AI. Um, the which data in particular were you wondering about how it was collected? The demographic information, or was it the business information?
The business information.
So the business inventory was collected through, I think we worked with the planning department at that point in time, and we put together a spreadsheet and an inventory and had all the spaces inventoried, and then, put the names of all the businesses in and then categorized them by what category that they belong to. So it was primary on the ground research between us and the planning department, filling in the blanks of who was there at the time. And the square footages were some we were able to get and some were estimated at that time. That was a fairly big undertaking to get that inventory done. So I was actually wondering how important it was to you to get that fully, fully updated again. Is that something that you feel is important to get all that data back in again? Or is it a lighter update that you're looking for as far as what businesses are there now?
I would lean towards a lighter update because some of the other things that you've said, to me are more value add at this point.
Okay.
But again, I'm gonna look at Erin for your insight on that.
I mean, I think, yeah, any update I think would be good. I want to be mindful of a budget, and if there's other useful information that could be added to this report that would cut into the budget, I think would be more crucial. But I think at the end of the day, it's still super helpful for someone like myself that's looking to attract businesses or have a kind of a pulse on what's going on in our commercial districts. I think any information is helpful.
A lot of downtowns right now are really trying to focus more on restaurants and entertainment these days, and it seems like food, it tends to be the new anchor in commercial districts. Is this true for your downtown? Is this a particular interest, would you say, restaurants and entertainment?
I'll go. I would say yes, because I think it does initially what brings someone to your downtown, and then, unless it's kind of a niche thing that someone's coming to see, but drives them to come there and then kind of stay there to see what else you may have to offer. So I would say yes to that, and some of the spaces that we do have, I feel like would be very conducive to that type of use. One in particular I'm thinking about. So I don't know if this group has anything else to add, but I think we're looking for more of a variety. We do have a lot of restaurants, but I think we're looking for kind of a restaurant that and many people
Has an
many
entertainment
restaurants
component?
do already. I'm trying to be mindful of the way I say this, but really kind of a driver, a unique kind of food entertainment.
I think we're looking for an entertainment component somehow downtown.
Experiential, right? Is that the word? Experiential is, yeah. Because right now, I'm actually gonna give you the credit for it, Erin. Erin brought in, what is it called? The clothing place? The clothing place.
Oh,
Indie Clover.
Indie clothing, which is, what I'm hearing from folks who go in there is very much an experience. It's not just you're just going in to buy a pair of pants. It's really going for the experience. And then the other element that, again, Erin's really been great at driving is looking at the pop-up aspects. So we're looking to add a pop-up.
Great. Okay.
Anybody else have anything additional on the things downtown, restaurants, clothing, pop-ups?
I think updating the vacant space, I saw that that was, something that was included in the assessment. That would be really helpful. I'm also curious, because I know this one was done a while ago. Erin, would you consider sharing like an updated market assessment with prospective businesses? Like I saw some of this data in here, and if I needed to go to the bank for a loan or something like that, like a lot of that data in there would be super helpful in kind of, making my case.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think this is probably one of the biggest tools that I would use with prospective businesses that are coming in, brokers, property developers, things like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, having this like pretty serious data collected would be really helpful.
Do you want to check in with the other members? If it just will, Holly, do you have anything to?
What I was looking through the report right now too, from a real estate perspective, does it get granular on types of office space? Or commercial in general in Wakefield that's, but by size, are we able to see, how many 100,000 square feet are above 30,000 square feet and how many of that is 1,000, 2,000 square foot floor plans?
Of the business, of the space that exists in the downtown, are you talking about, or in Wakefield?
Well, in Wakefield in general.
That was beyond the scope of the market study that we did last time. That was not what we weren't planning on doing that for this time. Office space right now is not a very hot market. I don't know if you want to spend a lot of time looking at that. If you were to do an inventory like that, it would just, it could be done. It would just take away from some of the other activities because it would be a larger data gathering endeavor. What is that a primary focus of yours? Office?
I'm thinking from the perspective of attracting large employers, and if it helps to look at how many spaces could accommodate a large employer.
And we have in Wakefield, Erin, you're gonna know more, and Ed and Steve, and you. We have sort of, Edgewater is
Yeah.
sort of the space, it's really kind of the commercial aspect of Wakefield. Every time I think of the bigger ones, I always think of Edgewater. So it's almost like there's this area of Wakefield where potentially we could really drive some bigger employers coming in there. But now I'm gonna
So
lean on.
Audubon Road is the area. And it would be almost be, larger manufacturing type businesses or potential for another office type complex. And that's what Edgewater was the redevelopment of a theme park. And there's a lot of space on Audubon Road, so I don't think the downtown office space per se has any value. I mean, I think you go to a larger, over that 100,000 or 50,000 square foot kind of space. I don't think anything that is in that, 1,000 to 15 or 2,500 has much value for downtown. I mean, we're gonna backfill some restaurants. We need some entertainment type space downtown. But for larger pieces, it's Audubon Road area. So I don't know if you could look at Audubon Road without taking away too much from some of the other things, like maybe emerging businesses over the last decade.
Mm.
Well, what's been successful in Wakefield and surrounding towns for emerging businesses in downtown locations? And maybe what kind of space they would need.
Is, I guess I'm just getting a little confused here. Is Edgewater and Audubon Road, those are not in the downtown area, is that correct?
No, they're not.
Okay,
They're outlying areas in town, but we're
Okay.
looking at an economic development council that has the entire town in mind.
I see.
And, as much as this is a downtown market assessment, we've also got elements that could be really successful outside the downtown perimeter. It's almost or it is a separate industrial office park area that has some wonderful potential to draw large businesses from across the country to a great location. So I'm not sure it falls into the downtown scope, because it doesn't. But it might be something we're interested in, and I don't know how the council would looking at that space. We're spending money to evaluate that more, but to Ali's point, that's where you would get large corporations interested in coming to Wakefield.
I wonder if you might be better off making that a separate study. That, because when you look at industrial space, it's really a lot of different players than when you look at commercial, like you usually find in a downtown. So you might want to have that be a separate interest area. And I was mentioning to Julianne, one thing to think about now is the one-stop applications are available from the state now. That program just came out. And if you, the applications are being accepted now, and then they would be awarded 6 months from now, 9 months from now. And that might be something that you could apply for in that particular study, and then have that just look at industrial and commercial and office. And then they could look at larger businesses. That might be more appropriate just to focus on that.
Thank you.
Agree.
The direction's very helpful.
There's a couple of different programs available under the one-stop application. There's that Massachusetts Downtown Initiative, and then there's some other ones as well. But they would be appropriate for consulting services and these kind of economic development studies. I know the DI program, the grant is up to 30,000, and it's for this kind of technical assistance.
Erin, you have something you want to add?
Yeah, so I do have a meeting when I get back and working on March 3rd with Emmy Hahn, who is in charge of the Mass Downtown. And I think it's to the program that Peg's talking about, but I think what we're looking for is more of a study being done for the kind of office type space, and where, you know, not even just Audubon, but there's other areas in town where there is some office space that we should be thinking about for not better uses, but for other uses and things like that to support our, you know, hopefully growing office space here in town. So definitely something I'll keep on my radar. And Peg, thanks for bringing up the one stop. It's something we've been pretty successful in the past with other things in town. So I'll definitely take a look at their community planning grant program and some other things that may fit in.
Is then you could work, I think that you'd want to work a lot with your local realtors to
Yeah.
get information about the spaces and what the trends are. And, you know, the other thing that's really important with those kind of spaces is the condition and, you know, what needs to be done before they're leasable, you know, to space. And so that seems to be a, you know, that would be a good targeted effort all by itself.
Ed has his hand up.
Yeah.
We can see.
Too much quicker than me. Ed, did you have some comments you want to make, or a question?
Hey, everybody, good to see you.
Hi.
I just wanted to reinforce to this council, I think it's really important that part of the work that you do focuses, I would say, on what is a town council priority, or at least a town councilor, one in particular priority being me, making sure that our commercial tax base remains strong, because that has real significant impacts for all the residents in town. And so, you know, whether that's segregated out as Peg has suggested, or, you know, somehow addressed, I would just encourage this council to do that, because one of the biggest challenges for a lot of communities is the loss of the commercial base to the residential tax base, which in Wakefield's case is, you know, the residential is a lower rate than the commercial. And we don't want to have too much of a shift there. We want to be able to make sure we have a vibrant commercial base, because that impacts a lot of our financials. So that's a really important piece. The other aspect from the office space perspective is, in my own experience, you know, owning a business, that I do see that there's a lot of inventory right now, and it's really depressed, you know, price per square foot for a lot of office space. One of the unique things we have in Wakefield, especially the Audubon Road area, is some really interesting opportunities for some high-tech life sciences and the like. And there was one particular company that's actually, I guess, worldwide, Steve, I believe, they were featured on 60 Minutes, within the last few years with the really kind of cutting-edge technologies that, we're kind of in, the 128 corridor, but we can think about maybe how we reapproach, not necessarily from an industrial standpoint, but more from a life sciences R&D lab type space. There's also been discussion over the years of the idea of microtransit. So being able to have some sort of shuttle that we could perhaps bring folks who would be in that kind of, that commercial corridor to the downtown, for lunch and the like. And so I do think there is the opportunity for connectivity there. And then finally, right next to Grayson Lofts, I think Steve and Aaron, we still have a good amount of commercial space there. The old,
Correct,
like,
yeah.
right? I mean, and that's a different space than Audubon Road, because that's really walkable. That's with Albion being a connector, gateway there. That we have a lot of opportunity there to think about how we could place businesses there that could avail themselves of our downtown pretty easily. So we get that foot traffic. So just some things to think about, as the council, but I can't stress enough how many communities are losing their commercial tax base to residential, and it is really having pretty significantly and profound impacts on them. So, to the extent we can try to preserve and ideally expand, it takes some of the burden off of the residential taxpayer. Thanks.
Mhm.
And I just want to roll this up because you bring this up a lot, which is really great because I think it helps us think more big picture that for this market assessment, focusing more on the downtown and more on what I'm going to call small business. And then we as a council at some point really start talking about the bigger commercial areas. And thank you, Peg and Aaron, for the looking at the grant programs from the state and potentially funding a bigger commercial study. Right. And no one else has any other questions or comments? Okay, great. Peg, was that helpful? Is it something else you need? Yeah.
There was a couple of other things. So I did have some thoughts. Is this appropriate to share some thoughts about the study at this point? And then I have a couple more questions. So when I looked at the study, because I had to kind of refresh my memory a little bit, I looked at it and I thought, well, we can redo the demographics because the demographics would have changed. And also I think we might want to reaffirm the primary and secondary trade areas. So we thought that they were, 2 miles and 3 miles. That may or may not still be the case. So we'd want to look at that, and we could do the sales leakage, which it sounds like you guys are very interested in. So that's definitely something we could do. The non-resident market segment. So the resident market segment doesn't just mean residents of Wakefield. It would be everybody that lives within the trade area. So people that live in Wakefield and beyond Wakefield within a reasonable travel distance of downtown. And then we could also update some things about the visitor markets, the non-resident market segments. Then this other idea that Julianne and I spoke about a little bit was doing some consumer survey research that we didn't do last time. So I just wanted to gauge your interest in that. What this would probably be would be we would target, people living in Wakefield, people that live within a reasonable travel distance, and people that work in Wakefield. And there might be possibly a way to rope in the visitors, like at the Sheridan. We'd have to think about that more. But if we did that survey, we could use the information to reconfirm the trade areas, kind of find like who's coming to downtown, how often and what for, and then look at consumer habits, particularly around restaurants and entertainment. Where do they go for restaurants now? How many times do they purchase meals every week? That sort of thing. What features are most important to them in potential new restaurants in downtown? We could map the restaurants they go to and then find out, okay, well, if people are traveling that far to go to that type of restaurant, if we had that restaurant in downtown Wakefield, it's likely that they would come to downtown because it would be closer. And then we could look at some other things about where do they go for other goods and services. And basically, are they satisfied? with their shopping options now, which they have a lot of shopping options, but what gap could the downtown fill? So that would be, sort of the point of doing the survey. And then if you had any particular scenarios or concepts that you wanted input from the residents from, we could also include that in a survey. If you wanted to, if you had some ideas that you were thinking about that you just wanted to get some input. But we didn't do that kind of research last time. And we do it in a lot of other places. And I just thought that might be something you'd want to think about that could be helpful. And then we talked about this district profile. Maybe doing, I think what you were saying is kind of a lighter update on that one, given that we don't want to spend too much time in data gathering. And then there was some previous recommendations, and I reread the recommendations, and some of them, many of them may still be valid. We could do sort of a go through to figure out what's still relevant, what's not relevant anymore, and look at that. I was thinking this wasn't going to be like involving a lot of multiple meetings, but maybe do the research, do the survey, the market study, the research, and then have a meeting to share results at the end. And the other thing I thought of, if you didn't want to do the consumer research, another kind of primary research that might be helpful, if you wanted to look at the businesses that exist in downtown now, explore how satisfied they are with their business location, how easy or difficult it was to start a business, and kind of with the idea that you're trying to identify barriers for getting businesses into downtown and think about what else could be done to make it easier to open a business in downtown. So it's kind of like two different ways to go with your primary research. But I think Julianne and I talked a little bit about really consumer research to kind of round out the demographics. If your intent is to use this information to do marketing and business recruitment, we would aim to get some soundbite information from that, like so many percent say this and so many percent want that, or that kind of thing. So that could help with some of your information that you share with potential business owners that Aaron was talking about. So I'd ask you I have a couple of questions. Did you have any feedback to that, what I just said? Is there any comments or thoughts?
I think it's all great. Like it's all, I like to get this updated and for me to focus on the consumer aspect. I think for me, I think is important because we do look at sort of the surrounding municipalities. And what I see is consumerism in those surrounding municipalities seems to be on an uptick and just really making sure that that's what's going on in Wakefield as well. But folks, what do we think? Leaning more towards looking at the barriers or leaning more towards the bringing the consumers in? Do I get that right, Peg? Those are
Yeah,
sort of the two? Yeah.
Both viable.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to get a little bit of information on both.
I think as a small business owner in this specific business district, I feel like there's a variety of businesses that would be willing to kind of provide their feedback if you did a survey that could help identify barriers to incoming businesses.
Ellie, do it. Tanya?
I think they're both equally important.
Who is important?
I think the consumer research would be really valuable.
Karen? Your thoughts?
Okay.
Sorry, my mouse disappeared somewhere. No, I think any information is super helpful. So, but I think adding that to what we currently have would be really great.
Ed?
Oh.
Sorry, Peg. Do you have any comments?
I would just say, I guess going back to Peg, to your earlier inquiry or point, any kind of businesses that we can attract that are of a unique nature, so it becomes destination, is important. I see that in other communities, like Reading, for instance, they've got a few businesses. They've got like a couple shops, like right by their CVS, for instance, that people go to because of what they are. So to the extent we can have all this data you're talking about in the various forms to be able to really sell, to like certain of these like niche businesses, especially. I get your point about the restaurants and things. A lot. I think some would argue we probably have met our quota, for instance, of Italian restaurants or pizza shops. We're pretty solid there, but but children's stores we don't have many. We don't have a toy store. We don't have a bookshop. Things like that. So, however, you could tailor the information gathering to some things that are not going to be easily replaced by an Amazon order, I think would be important for us. Because I do think we have a lot of potential for different, types of like unique niche, independent shops. I don't think the execution has been there in recent years. And we also have Albion Street as well, which is kind of like framed as almost like an arts corridor, if you will, and that's how we've tried to present that. And the idea, we have a Kid Casa, which is a great children's art studio plus a shop that attaches to it. Being able to think about how we can maybe sell certain portions of our downtown in different ways. And I think all that data you're talking about, I think all of it is important for those purposes.
Okay. And just a couple of more quick questions. We often work with a city staff person, like the economic development director or the planning department director, that can help us provide data to us and help us with like survey promotion and that sort of thing. And if we were to work with you, we be working with Erin?
Sorry, I didn't really introduce myself, Peg. Sorry. I'm Erin Kokind. I'm the Community Economic Development Director for the town. I apologize. I'm currently on maternity leave, but I will be back on March 3rd. So
Okay.
yes, I won't speak, but yes, I would be the person that would work very closely with you and would love to have a meeting, just you and I, in 2 weeks too.
Okay. All right.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. And then how if when we do primary research, we would just this helps me think about when I get back to you on this. We would we design the research, we develop the platform and all that stuff, but then we rely locally for the promotion of the survey to help get it out on social media, get it on the town website, if you have any kind of online newspaper to get all the announcements out. And is that something that would work in your situation?
Yeah. So we have a communications director in the town
Okay.
that I have my office right next to her. We work day in, day out together, worked on getting surveys out many times. So she knows how to do this very well. So I see no concerns there.
Okay. And then the last question I had is that we have to work around our other projects that we have committed to, and we would have an opening that would start like probably late March, early April. Would that fit with your schedule? What's your schedule for getting something like this done?
Are you speaking to me or just the group as a whole? I'll speak through the chair.
Yeah.
Julianne, if that works.
So I think so Erin's coming back and I'm assuming you're gonna need a couple of weeks to kind of get your feedback onto you, but so would an April, that's what you're saying, Peg, right? An April start time?
Yes, kind of, yeah, late March, early April.
Yeah, would that work for you, Erin? Because you're really the linchpin here.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, so it sounds like Erin will be back and maybe you folks can meet and then, I'm not gonna speak for your schedule, Erin, but I would give her a little breathing room, but she's like a rock star. She just hits the ground running. So a late March, early April will work for you, Erin?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd say more April, but yes,
Yeah.
Peg, but we'll get it going. I can work around your schedule. Because I know we have a few things as part of other initiatives the council would like to work on, that some of this data would be really helpful. So the sooner we can get it going, I think it would be better for everyone.
And Peg, I'm sorry, Peg, so you would sort of like, Erin would help get this all kicked off and then you go off and you do your work and then you come back, correct? Is that how that?
Yes. So what we would, what you're kind of looking for, what do we need from Erin? Like what help would we need? The biggest thing probably would be survey promotion, getting that out, working with the communication director and getting that out. And the other thing might be, if there was some data available, like in order to do that light update that we were talking about for the profile of the district, if there was information available that we could get from someplace else. But I would say survey promotion is probably the biggest thing. I think what I have to do is take back what you said tonight, think about it, and then I guess I get back to Julianne, or do I get back to Erin?
I think I see, if you want to email maybe both of us, does that work for you,
Okay.
Erin? Because Erin's still, we want to still give Erin some time. And that works for you, Erin? You're nodding your head? Yes, okay, great.
Because
I'll
I
make
think
sure you have both email.
because now I'm kind of what I really heard was that you were interested in both surveys, the consumer survey and the business survey. So I kind of have to think about how that would work with the budget of the other pieces that we would do. And so put that together in a schedule. But we might start with the consumer survey just because that would help reconfirm the trade area. And then once we know the trade area, then we would do the demographics and the sales leakage. So we would do it in that order. Plus, as you get closer to summer, surveys are less effective because people are on vacation plans and, thinking, going in different directions. So that might be the order that would work best.
Yeah, and I think too, we've done a lot of surveys over the last 2 or 3 years. And so I just want to make sure that I speak to other department heads and things like that to make sure there's no overlap with other surveys that may be going out. I know we're working on a housing production plan right now. And so, yeah, Peg, you and I and Julianne can talk about the best way. And Jen McDonald, who's our communications director, to make sure that we get as much as we can from folks.
And the only thing we'd want to think about, I'll just plant the seed, is that your other surveys have probably been residents only. And if there's a way that we could extend it to get, to get some input from people that are beyond the town line, that would be in the trade area for downtown, but might be outside of town. And we were just working in Athol, and we just did some work in Stoughton, and we were able to get that, and that was really helpful because it wasn't just residents, it was really representative of the bigger market.
Yeah, that would be really helpful and I think great. Yeah. I would love to know what you guys did for that. I have a few ideas in my head, but what that looked like would be great.
Steve, can I just ask, what might we have some Wakefield merch, or maybe like we used to have those Wakefield bucks or something like that could be offered to at random to any participants too, to just kind of drive a little more excitement of people taking a survey?
However you could work that out, the survey is going to be online.
Right.
So however you could work that out, like I'm just trying to think, how would we work out a delivery system, since they're answering online, but maybe they could, if they answer the survey, they could go pick something up somewhere, or.
I think we could just do like an enter to win, like everybody, like a few winners, just to kind of make it seem a little more enticing for folks,
We could enter them into a survey, give names and address that enter them into some kind of contest or something.
Are we allowed to do that, Steve?
Yeah, I wondered about that.
I want to say no.
Yeah,
this was asking
like
kind of
merch.
hard sometimes.
Working for municipalities, you kind of lose
It-
out on all
It
that
might be
fun.
better not, it might be better to ask for forgiveness.
Like I think we've done, we have had like Wakefield merch before, and we've had like
Yeah.
those like dining bucks, Steve.
Yeah.
I think the chamber had those.
I
like
think
I
we'd
mean,
have to
I'm just
work-
saying something
we'd
like
might have to
that.
work through the chamber
I
for
was gonna
that
say,
one.
if we
So,
partner with the chamber, it might be
Yeah.
something.
You guys are all
we
gonna
could
leave.
no, we can look into that, Ed.
I I get surveys almost every day. I feel like they're all
Yeah.
law related, and the surveys where it's like, hey, win a Stanley if you answered 5 questions or something. That's going to prompt people to probably do it more, right? And so I just think people their inboxes do get inundated. So what's the differentiator there? Just something to think about.
Whatever you can think of that would encourage people to respond, and then what we can do, if we knew it was going to be there was going to be some kind of a drawing or a prize, we would set it up so that you could only accept one survey from a device.
Good.
So that would be the other thing. If you thought that like you have a lot of people that go to the library and use those computers and you'd want them to be able to answer the survey, it would be harder to do that because we'd have to open it up to more than one response. That's the only thing with when you're doing a drawing that makes a difference from a technical standpoint.
Is there any
But-
other-
I think we could, we can work out all those details later.
Peg, once you're engaged, what's the turnaround time for feedback and a package coming back?
Well, we'd really like to do it probably like April to June. I don't know if that's going to be too quickly. But that kind of that's where I was looking, the life of a small consulting firm, we have to plug our resources in and make sure everybody's busy. So that's where we have a gap. That's kind of what I was thinking about. The unknown is we send a survey out and then how long does
Oh,
it
yeah,
take?
no,
to get
I'm
back?
not holding your feet to the fire. I just was kind of,
Yeah.
what's typical for a package coming back once you're engaged? So it sounds like it's a couple months, 3?
Yes, yeah, 3 months at least.
Everyone else is good? Any more questions for Peg?
If you're looking for it, I mean, if that's an issue, that'll be good for me to know. Are you looking for something by summertime or do you have a schedule?
Not that tight, like what, right, Erin? Not that, like summer would be amazing, I would think. Does that work
Yeah,
with you,
summer
Erin?
would be great.
Yeah.
I
Where
think
it
just
gets
like I said, we have a few initiatives that I think this council is trying to move along that some of this information would be helpful, so.
Where it bogs down is if we have to have a lot of meetings or a lot of review, or we're waiting for you, or you're waiting for us, or whatever. I don't see that it's going to be that kind of process, or I think could happen, pretty quickly. And it sounds like if you've got a really good system for getting out the surveys, then we could get them back pretty quickly. We would only need to keep the survey open like 3 weeks. And so then things could happen pretty quickly.
And your thought was you're hoping it wasn't 12 months or
Yes.
2 years. So I think Chris was hoping it wasn't like a year-long or 2-year-long process. So it sounds like you have a very quick turnaround, which is exciting.
It really, we had a project that got delayed. And so it worked for us that there's kind of a spot. And so I think, unless something happens, that's what I think would happen, that we would be able to do that.
That's great. Okay. Erin, do you have anything else? Okay, no. Add anything else for Peg? Peg, thank you so much. I mean, you're welcome to
You're
stay,
welcome.
but
No,
we get pretty boring. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
right.
I look forward to working with you.
me too. We'll get back to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peg.
Thank you so much.
Stuff. All right.
I just have to figure out how to leave. There we go.
Okay. Good stuff. Okay, Grace.
Here's your coat, what you-
Kick you off too.
I was thinking that. I'm like, you better get off your horse. Steve kicks you off.
Could I just ask what funding bucket was this
Sorry.
under? What funding bucket is this under?
We
Like,
specifically line item this.
okay,
25,000 line itemed for updating the market assessment.
cool. From the ARPA funds.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
There's a spreadsheet. There's a spreadsheet that has all the breakdowns. 400,000, then just from us, 400,000 for facade, 60 for digital marketing, 25 for market assessment. Aaron, I'm missing one. 100,000 for pop-up, which we're gonna talk about. And then 100 for events and creative arts, and then 150, I think, for municipal marketing.
It's awesome that it's already allocated. That's really great.
All right, number 5, wait, 1, 2, 3, okay, we're still good. Number 5 is economic development ARPA funds discussion. I just wanted to take 1 minute and just talk about, from our last meeting, we had a lot of discussion around funding for events or funding for creative arts. And I think it's really important that we understand that we're not making decisions about what events are going on, and we're not the ones who are actually putting on the events. We're a grantor of funds. So If someone wanted to put on an event, they need to go through the town, they need to get approval on everything. But we need a process so that they can then come to us and say, I want $1,000, I want 1,000, here's why, you know. So that's something I think we don't necessarily have to delve into tonight because we have some other interesting stuff, but we should really think about what is the granting process we want, so folks can come to us and say, event's going on, I'd like it to go to X, Y, and Z. Is this something that you folks will provide funding for? Great. The next one is facade and sign program, second round discussion, and I'm psyched that you're here, Erin. We still have, I think it's like 155,000, Steve, is that about right?
That sounds right, yes.
And Erin, I'm really leaning on you tonight, so thank you for being here.
Poor
Oh,
Aaron's
yeah,
being
honest,
thrown
I've been
right back
really
in the
off-
fire. I told you
I'm
not
really
to even
out
come.
off the radar, so I'm sorry if I don't have the answers you need right now. I'll try my
No,
best.
no, you did amazing, amazing. But I just would love to hear your thoughts on, if you think we should do a second round on the facade program and how successful it's been, and just sort of get your insight.
Okay. I think, you know, I'm just trying to pull up, just bear with me. My last kind of correspondence with that. I think it was a very successful program, still ongoing, very much ongoing, where we had, as you guys saw, you know, over $1 million in investment within our commercial areas to make sign and facade updates. But, you know, everything from a $500 sign up into, you know, $100,000 or more of people wanting to invest and the town being a partner with that. I have had a number of folks reach out to me after the fact, you know, weren't really ready to apply at the time that we rolled out the program and when it closed, because you do need to have an open and close date, I think, or we could do a rolling basis until the money's gone, that wanted to take advantage of the program. And so I do definitely think their interest is still there. I still think there's a lot of work that could possibly be done. And I think, you know, there'll always be success in sign and facade. And I think Councilor Dombrowski alluded to this many times, you know, it benefits the community as well because you're creating, you know, a better and more aesthetically pleasing commercial district for your town. So I would be supportive of it. I think we should have a cap this time. That was a real struggle. I know we talked about that in length before, but I do think there should be some sort of cap if we do decide to roll this forward, given, you know, we do have a limit of the amount of money we'll have for this program now.
Do you have, is there a surplus from the first round? But no,
I don't know yet. So again, you know, this may be why it could be like a rolling basis type thing. We are, again, kind of have been out of I know Steve and Sherry have been so awesome in helping me kind of move this program along while I've been gone. But I do think we've heard from a few folks I wasn't sure we're still going to move forward. So if we do have a surplus, I don't think it will be as much as that maybe I was thinking. But I do think there will be some money left over. I just couldn't tell you tonight what that would be.
Sure.
We still get calls. I mean, I get stopped. Are you still doing this program? This is great. You know, and they see hearts, like for instance, you know. So I think it makes a big difference and it pops myself.
So you're also in favor? I know.
I'm as a non-voting member and on the 18th, walking up the 18th fairway, looking for my ball in the woods, I'm for it.
Excellent. I also am in favor of it because I think it has been so successful, and I think Ally, you and Ann are working on getting the signage together, making it very visible. I think it would also roll into, I don't know, Erin, into the marketing of the town to say, look at everything that we've been doing to really bring people forward. So that's my 2 cents.
Nope, on point, all of it.
What do you mean, no?
No, I've got nothing to add, all on point. It's been a very successful program, and as successful as anything that I've seen in recent years. So roll with it.
Yeah, it goes back to the community as a whole. I think it's a great program, supporting those businesses, but doing some, sprucing up of the downtown.
I completely agree.
I think it benefits the landlords quite a bit.
Okay,
Which
again, this is good for us to really have a discussion and you
But-
bring a different,
I think to everyone's point that I mean, there's a lot of new businesses here. And if they have the opportunity to, have adequate signage that draws attention, I think that's brilliant.
I agree. Can I talk? I think it does benefit,
check with Ali and then you,
I agree.
yeah, okay.
I think it does benefit the landlords a lot, but I also think it gets them off the duff and actually do something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is the only thing that really has.
I'm
last 20
curious,
years.
have you encountered with the application so far that the landlords have been a barrier to implementation?
No.
That's
Mm-mm.
awesome.
Actually,
That's
I'm
great.
hearing, like Steve said, I'm hearing from people that own properties that I never thought they would apply for something or want to do something. I mean, again, they're getting kind of free money, if you will, but I have not run into that yet, which I thought maybe we would, but we haven't.
And it's 50% reimbursement, right?
Up to 50.
I think the phrase was up to.
Up to.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I will say there was one landlord that I was having difficulty between the business and landlord trying to get something going, but I think it's going, there was just different timelines for the two different groups, but I think it will move forward, so.
Hey, do you want to do your spiel about how it benefits the whole community?
I mean, I think it does. I think you know my position on that. I mean, these are ARPA funds that are really taxpayer dollars that are going to the betterment of the community. So from an aesthetic standpoint, it also, can help to improve folks' property values as well. The only other piece I'd remind folks of is this is so, we have a whole campaign here, if you will, and the ARPA funds and how they're being directed, the kind of market research analysis that we're doing to promote Wakefield, but also, as we spoke about, I guess, the last meeting, the Envision Wakefield Downtown Revitalization Project. I mean, that is going to be transformative of our downtown. So this is the way that we as a community and as a municipality can have an impact on the private property, so that because it's a private partnership, right, ultimately. Whereas all of the other work that we're doing, the streetscapes and the like, that's all within the public domain on public property. So it just dovetails so nicely into that. And I think the more that people realize what's coming down the pike and just in a very short amount of time, it is going to be absolutely transformational. So, this is the time to get in because Wakefield is going to feel the downtown will feel a lot different, a lot more refreshed in just a few short years. So I think it all kind of plays together nicely for what I think the ultimate goal is of most folks.
Steve, did we jump over you? You wanted to make? a
No,
comment?
I jumped in. Thank you.
Do you happen to have the number of what's sort of remaining from the ARPA?
Yeah, this is an old number. I think that if all of these are granted, okay, so that's the question too. Because we don't have information from a lot of them, okay? Our remaining funds were about 85,000 because we were already over it on the sign and facade by about 70.
So I'm going to ask a process question. So we had, I believe the motion at the time was up to 400,000, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have to now vote to backfill to the process question, right? So we'll have to take a vote if you want to cover the 70 overage, or is that stuff not nailed down yet?
I think it's not nailed down, and I think you should also wait until we actually on the agenda post it as a vote for moving funds.
Okay.
Yes.
So do we have a timeline for when, how we know how much money actually got spent?
So I'm pulling it up right now. I just want to make sure I don't misspeak here. I believe I give people till September to have the projects completed. And again, that is, I don't refund anyone until I make sure they followed everything they said they were going to do. So, oh, deadline for reimbursement is August 1st, 2025
Okay, that was
for
my
this round.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
You know, and there's some that need to go to the ZBA that necessarily haven't done it yet. Some that even haven't sent their award letters back. So there are those things that need to happen.
do we want to, do a vote to, not a specific dollar amount, but to say that we're in support of a second round?
Yeah, I think my advice would be purely on a process level,
Uh-huh.
to have it brought back at the next meeting, posted for that purpose. There's nothing that's gonna happen between now and then anyway.
Yeah, great, okay.
And I think that will give me some time maybe to give you some better,
Right.
I
And at that point, we might have a better feel for what
Right.
the actual dollars are.
Okay, so we're gonna bring this one.
Yeah.
To a vote. Okay, oh, because it says discussion.
Yeah.
Oh,
In,
okay.
in the course of the discussion, if you're looking at votes, maybe there's
I
a
get it.
point in time where you talked about August 1. If someone hasn't started a project or petitioned the Board of Appeals or put anything forward, that, maybe it's a default of the award, but.
Right.
Or
Well, with the rolling one, you just move on to the next person.
yeah, or maybe that gets thrown into the next go round of funding and you missed your opportunity for funding in round one, because we've got someone else in line in round one. And maybe because of the lack of effort, they get pushed into round two funding.
Yep.
But I think that's also a vote.
Right, I get it. Next time. I will write vote. Not write discussion, okay. Excellent.
What I might suggest for that is just on the agenda, just in parentheses, vote anticipated, because someone would have to make a motion to
Thank you.
have it seconded. So vote anticipated covers you. So
Okay.
it indicates that there's a likelihood, but not a certainty.
Right.
Okay, thank you, thank you. All right, very good. All right, so anything, we good to move on to the next, anyone has anything else? No, no. Item 3 under 5, pop-up RFP review. Mr. Mayo, I think you were gonna,
That's why Aaron's here.
oh, you're on again.
Like time never, it's never passed. So thank you so much, everyone. I know we're all really excited to get this project to move forward within the town. Again, Steve and Sherry have been wonderful in helping me move this project along while I've been gone. But we did have the RFPs close on January 27th or 28th, the end of January. We've received 2 proposals for the pop-up, one being up next. Well, we had probably about what, Steve? I know you wrote it down, like 5 or 6 inquiries about
5 or 6 inquiries, 2 actual submissions.
submission and 2 actual submissions. One of the submissions was Up Next LLC. That was Allison Yee, who, we've worked with in the past from the town doing the pop-ups on Main Street with Inspire and Uli Bully, 2 summers ago now at this point. And she also presented to us too. We also received a proposal from CRRC. They are a consulting company based out of Ithaca, New York, which I found very interesting. Both very strong proposals in different ways. I don't know if you all had a chance to look at the RFP that went out at the beginning of December, but we did have certain goals and criteria that we were looking for as part of the proposals. So what I did was kind of create this matrix to grade what I received, ranking everything from 0 to 3. So I have that open right here. I don't know how much detail you really want me going into or what you guys have seen, but I did put a memo together that I sent to Steve based on what I thought, looking at the proposal and my notes, and who I feel like could get the ball rolling quickly within still our $100,000 budget that we allocated for this project. But I'll stop there. I don't know if there's certain questions or if you want me to run through the matrix, I can pull that up as well and explain a little bit more with my notes. But I will let you decide that, Julianne.
I think I dropped the ball. Did I not send it to everybody? So Steve, you sent it to me. I think I dropped the ball. My apologies.
Okay.
Yeah. My apologies. I sent it to the council. it- Can you,
Oh, you want me to pull it up? Okay, hold on one second. I just have my,
would you mind? My apologies.
no, that's okay. I just have my memo up. Just bear with me for 1 second. Here we go. Okay. Can you all see it? I know it's small, but
Yep.
can you read it? Kind of.
You guys see
So,
the back?
Let me see if I can, here we go, zoom in. So as I mentioned, we had two proposals that came in, one being Up Next, also Project Pop-Up, and CRRC, sorry about the misspelling of CCRC. And here you'll see kind of the matrix, where I graded people, so quality and thoroughness of the proposal, and I kind of go into the kind of how I rated it, the highly advantageous, advantageous, not advantageous, experience and past performance in completing projects of a similar type, size, and complexity. Again, kind of rank it again, highly advantageous and what that means, advantageous, non-advantageous. Experience and past performance in completing projects of a similar type, size, and complexity in Massachusetts. So again, just for the state itself, again, ranking that. So highly advantageous was, working with 3 municipalities in Massachusetts. The other one was 1. And then not working with any development of a business plan. So really I looked at that as their proposal on how they would, do this, thought out what their deliverables are, timeline, anticipated expenses. And then, I apologize, creation of a marketing plan. So, how they'll work to market the pop-up, not only as a shop, but also to businesses that would be interested in participating. And then qualifications of key staff and personnel. I think that's pretty straightforward. And then last is an interview. So I ranked them based on, again, this was me ranking it, reading the proposals. Up Next, it was very close, scored 11, and CRRC scored a 9. And I think the big difference for me was, as you can see here, was, working in Massachusetts and what that looks like within the communities and how they can get that up and running pretty quickly. And so I think too, the firm having direct relevant experience, number 2 here, Up Next has been doing something very similar to the projects that we would be doing in downtown Wakefield or wherever we find the commercial, the commercial space to do this. CRRC had a really strong proposal, very thorough. I can't say that enough. They did a really great job. And, Up Next answered the questions, I'll say that, but it was definitely not as thorough as CRRC. And development of business plan, they both had that, answered the questions that needed to be answered. Marketing plan, same thing, how they would kind of attract customers and also attract small businesses to be part of this. And then the key personnel and staff, both had 2, both had very strong individuals that I have no problems seeing them run this program. I think the big thing was for me, was a quick turnaround and getting this up and going and knowing how to do it in Massachusetts. Being based out of Ithaca, they did say they had 2 people in the Boston area, but the main person is based in Ithaca. Just not knowing the small business community, I felt like that Up Next may know, I felt was kind of a disadvantage. So happy to answer any questions from the the group. Also, you know, what the next steps may be.
Molly, any questions? Tanya,
Not right now.
Molly? This is great, thank you.
It was too, I think a big thing is, I should have mentioned this up next. This is kind of like, you know, it's hard because they were both really great proposal. Takes on the lease, and I think that's really important. They're the ones that are leasing the space. CRRC had some reservations about that, and in their proposal, they did mention that they would have to update their proposal if that was the case. And I did forward Steve and Julian an email I received from them. Gary is his name. About what that would look like and the liability. And I think that would change what their budget was. And I can touch on what they both submitted as what their budget would be, if that would be helpful to the group as well.
Again, I see you as the implementer of this, so you have a preference, correct?
I do. I
Yeah.
think just to get the ball rolling, we are on now a timeline of the end of next year to get this going. I think both could do it, but I think with having a time this needs completed, I do think one could successfully get it done quicker.
Do you need something from us to move forward?
I don't think so, unless Steve, you feel differently.
This is great.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Do you have thoughts?
I love it.
Yeah, this is great. I think we're-
Up Next did a great job.
Yeah.
At the one we had last year,
I think we're all.
2 years
excited.
ago, yeah.
And again, I
when-
think, go ahead.
Oh, I think when Chris was talking about like experiences to like the downtown, like Wakefield area, it's like this is a great kind of way to experiment with what that could look like. Because the last one was outdoors, right? So this is supposed to be indoors.
Yeah, so I had a space in mind that we were going to use that fit everything, but it got leased, which is great news. So now back to the drawing board, but I have full faith that we will find something that will make it work and still draw people to a commercial district within our community.
I'll sell coffee at like Quantapowhat for a few months if you want my spot.
Aren't you nice?
It's small though.
So you'll keep us up to date on
Yes.
on your progress. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Correct.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Steve, I don't know if you have anything to add. I'm sorry.
No,
kind
I
of-
think that they did a great job last time and have, they were great to work with, so.
Yeah, and if you need anything from the council, please let us know, right?
I will. Thank you.
Thanks. Great. Ed, do you have any comments? Check in with you? No, okay. I'm gonna just do a time check. It's almost 7:10. How's everyone doing? Yeah, no, okay, great. The last one, I always wanna make sure that if folks have, some ideas about using opera funds, that we at least give a moment to hear them. So that's number 4 under the ARPA funds discussion. Does anyone have any new ideas about, hey, I was thinking the other night, I was taking a shower thinking, what about this? Okay, very good. Item number 6. Bye, Erin. Did you leave?
Aaron, no, Aaron's still here. The camera.
No, I'm still here. I have my 9-year-old watching
Yes,
TV, trying to make sure all was well.
yeah, I don't want to keep you. Item number 6, Ed, you had brought this up a few meetings ago about us, really thinking about we've been seated for, I think it's a year now. And typically you change the organization, have a new chairperson, maybe a new vice chair. I don't know. I think you're doing a great job. I'd vote for you again. Right, Ed, would you mind talking a moment about sort of like the process of that, how that would work?
Sure. So basically, the way that we normally structure it is that when we have new appointees come on, that's generally when you have a reorganization. Basically, your situation is a little bit different, I think, because you would this council had been selected before it met by a number of months, and so that kind of threw things out of whack a little bit. But it's really it's really what we do for all the committees, councils, boards, commissions, to decide on how you want to reconstitute with a chair and vice chair generally each year. And sometimes people keep it the same, sometimes people change it up. It all depends on the composition of your council. It depends on who's expressed interest. There's no real, hard and fast rule of how it's done, but it is something that's generally done on an annual basis. And as I said, it generally aligns with when, people are rolling on or rolling off their terms, but it's a little bit different for you folks because of when you had, you convened your first meeting. So I think you were actually appointed in the fall of 23, right? But I don't think you began meeting until around
April.
February, March of 24. So you had that lag time. So, technically it should have been in the fall, but you wouldn't have had a whole year's worth of, meetings at that point.
So how would someone express interest for taking a leadership role?
No, so on the agenda, you should just, put, reconstitution or reorganization or whatever you want to do, or something along those lines, if vote anticipated. Then anyone can make a motion to, or as chair, you can entertain a motion, for voting in of chair and or vice chair and chair. And then you can ask for nominations. Anyone can make nominations. All this obviously gets seconded, and then it gets voted upon. You can do chair first or vice chair first. And it obviously during that you have discussion, and before you convene a vote too. If anyone has interest, obviously they can express that interest of running or staying on, or whatever the case might be.
Do they do that in the meeting where the vote is going to happen? Do they do it beforehand? How does that
I
typically?
think you could frankly do it either, but I think it's probably better. In my experience, it's been more the same. People express an interest in the same meeting that it gets voted upon.
Great. Okay.
Steve, I don't know if you had anything more to add
No,
on
I
that.
think the only thing is that nominations technically don't need to be seconded. They always are, but they don't.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Technically, they don't need to be
Technically, they don't.
seconded. Right.
And then the chair would call for a vote.
Yeah.
And then you probably want to do chair first and then vice chair second. Probably a better way to do it.
Yeah.
And people can
express
nominate themselves
interest.
too.
Yeah. Does anybody have interest in being chair? And someone could say, I do, okay. Anybody else? Usually there isn't a stampede for it. It's usually just a couple of people.
Kid.
It's not a rigorous campaign most of the time, no. But if you want to indicate, but if anyone even for tonight's purposes wants to express an interest in that, I think that's
Yeah.
probably appropriate to do. And then obviously you're not voting on anything this evening, but it gives some, or if you want to just leave it out there for people to think about.
Yeah.
They've seen how the council meetings have run so far. So if anyone has an interest, but there's no hard and fast rule about how you introduce the topic. It's obviously the voting can't happen until you have an agenda where it indicates it's likely.
Yeah.
I am going to ask, does anyone have interest in being chair? Anyone, please?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. The one other for the reorganization, Nithya actually, after our last meeting, I'd reached out to her to see, if maybe she is gonna come back. She actually has, I don't know if she's actually made it through Sherry, the process, but she's expressed that she's gonna step back.
Yeah, I think we received an email.
You did get it.
Yeah.
Good. So we do now have an open position, and I think Sherry will then post it.
Exactly.
Yep, and then, so we will have, hopefully, and then how does that work, Ed? And then it goes to the,
Town council is gonna get a number of these in April, because a lot of committees are coming up. So there'd be appointments or reappointments or what have you.
so would we wait till April?
Well, that's gonna be
They're on a
posted, so,
different
yeah.
schedule.
Oh, you're on a different schedule.
Yeah, this council is on a
Yeah.
different schedule than most of
Yeah.
the, most of our appointments and reappointments are April, but I think you guys might be October.
But I think we would still fill that position
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, to clarify, there's an opening on this council?
on this council, yeah.
So Nithya was a member.
Okay.
She took a break for maternity. And then, I just reached out to see if she was thinking of coming back, and she indicated that she's got a lot going on, so, okay.
One point is, we introduced a new part to the process, a couple of years back now, or a few, I guess, where we do, solicit, feedback from, the council and more specifically the chair relative to any applicants we have. So the applicants, when they go to Sherry, ultimately would also make their way to this council. And then, generally, the council would discuss it as a whole, and then we would normally receive a letter from the chair, indicating, perhaps one preference or, multiple candidates. And that's certainly not binding on the town council, but in my experience, it's always been considered by the town council. And so if there's a particular, candidate that might stand out to you because he or she offers, some sort of, background that you may not have but are looking for, express that. And then that helps to guide the town council process.
So if someone submits, is that a public record? So we discuss it in a public meeting?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, great. Thank
So
you.
just to clarify, the process is an application to Sherry.
Yeah.
Goes to town council.
Well, it goes to actually this body first,
Okay.
Right.
and then you'll make a recommendation.
And
You
then
don't have
then
to, but,
council
we invite you to do
decides.
it.
Yeah.
And we do consider those, the recommendations pretty strongly. Then ultimately the town council gets the recommendations along with the applications and then makes a decision.
And you and Maureen are the ones who present it to the rest of the counselors, is that correct?
I mean, in this case, perhaps
Liaisons.
depending on the timing of this, yeah, but I mean, we would definitely, liaisons for any of these boards, commissions, or councils, they're always offering some sort of perspective, or often do, I should say.
Okay, very good. Great. Thank you.
But again, I would be guided by what this council is inclined to do. If you want to, maybe, endorse, one or maybe multiple applicants for whatever reasons, but that's up for this council to decide.
So, Steve, are we thinking that the posting will go out now, or will it?
If it hasn't already gone out, it will go out shortly.
Okay, shortly, and then, okay,
It's possible the next meeting, I'd hope that you'd have somebody.
okay, great, yes, thank you. Excellent. Anyone else, any comments on us reorging? No? Okay. Any announcements?
I have a couple admin questions. I heard a few times, and I'm just unfamiliar with the process. I understand that we need quorum for some votes. What's like the minimum amount? Because I saw you counting earlier. So what's the minimum amount of people that have to attend a meeting?
To vote?
Yeah,
Yes, so we have, we're a 9-member.
okay,
So we need to have the quorum of 5.
5. And then I was reading about the open meeting law presentation that like the extension ends the end of March from.
Oh, you're talking about the hybrid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does that make a difference for us at all?
it may.
Okay. Yeah,
This is the second or third year in the row that
she's extended.
the legislature hasn't acted on something that they should have. That's pretty easy. I don't want to go there. Ed, stop me.
I think suffice it to say, it's quite likely that it'll be extended beyond
Yeah.
March. But if it's not,
Okay.
then
Yeah.
you'll have to,
Yeah.
readjust based on that.
A couple of years ago, it actually lapsed for a few days.
Yeah, I remember that.
There was a
Yeah.
outcry among us in municipal government.
I worked at the nonprofit space then.
Oh.
I was like, can I meet with somebody or no? And then my second question was about the agendas. Is it possible to get a draft agenda sent to the committee?
I always send the link,
The link to
the agenda, which is posted.
Okay, so we don't get the agendas until it's posted.
You want the draft agenda?
I'm
One
just
of the
curious if
responsibilities of the chair is generally to set the agenda. That's frankly, that's one of the primary responsibilities, but the chair can certainly ask anyone for
So
Yes, which I've
any items they
seen.
want to add, which I
Yeah.
believe.
I always do,
Julianne's always
I always,
done.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
she's
I
always
was
done
just
that every
curious.
time.
I always do.
Because I know sometimes it's hard to change an agenda once it's posted. So I was just wondering if other than,
So you would never, you would never change a post, once an agenda is
it
posted,
doesn't get changed.
you would have to send it back and get it amended, right?
You can do that if you need to.
That would have to
you
go
would
to the chair.
through the chair, we'd certainly want that changed agenda to be posted for no less than 48 hours before the
Right.
meeting, unless it was an emergency. And I don't think, frankly, this council would have an emergency. The town council might have an emergency that they need to do something. Or a school committee might have an emergency, but probably not here.
Okay.
I will always send out the email that, because I'll be putting the agenda together and it will always send out to everyone, because I think it's really important that folks have an opportunity to weigh in. I know you had sent one. I think we had voted on that already. I'm gonna just.
I don't- Ask Aaron, because,
The SUFA, is that how you pronounce it?
yeah. I
Yeah.
guess So Aaron, the billboards,
Yeah, so I think we had at one point, because Ed had made the point that it really has to go through town council. They're the ones who would even be the ones to discuss it.
but I think Aaron we have to vote on whether or not to push that forward, right?
Refer it to the town council if that's an initiative. That's the way I understood it.
Yeah, but I thought we had already done that.
I don't
I think
recall
we'd
us
already
doing
done
that.
Yeah. Because folks weren't necessarily thinking they wanted to,
Right,
fund that.
but I didn't know if we had officially taken care of it. Saying no,
That we weren't gonna fund it.
that we weren't gonna even push it forward.
Yeah, I couldn't remember which meeting it was, but
No, I don't think there was discussion on, we had the meeting where he came and it was kind of like, okay, thank you, we'll take this information. And then if I may be mistaken, I don't think it was discussed at this board again.
Yeah. Did the.
I'll go back and look at which meeting it was. One of the meetings, because Ed made a great point that it's not even really up to us. It would have to go through the town council first to say, we want to see these things, we want to see these, and then we could fund it. And there wasn't the appetite for funding it in the first place. Well, that's my recollection. I'll go back and I'll find which meeting it was. Did I
Just
get
one
that
other
right,
point on
Ed?
the agendas too, you had asked about like changing them. You always can table an item on an agenda. So even if there does end up being something on the agenda and you see you're running short on time or for any reason, you can always vote, decide to table an item and have it on a later, at a later meeting agenda. So I think the more inclusive the agendas can be, understanding that you have that option is better because you can't do the reverse. You can't just introduce things, as Steve was saying, unless there's an emergency and your council, it's unlikely to be such an emergency for a matter not anticipated.
I think is what we're doing right now.
Thank you guys for the clarification. I'm just new to the process and wanting to understand.
Yeah, that's good.
It's very confusing. I agree.
100%.
Stay organized with all the different aspects.
Yeah.
So next month. Wednesdays, right? Wednesdays, 6. We're gonna avoid the Ides of March.
The only Wednesday that's a no, for me and possibly for Aaron is the 19th. There's the 4th grade concert, to the 4th grader. Oh, Aaron.
Okay.
No 4th grader. Just me then.
Not yet, next year.
Do you want to look at the 26th? If we look at the 26th, that would give time, right? Give time for you to get yourself set and then maybe have met with Peg. 26? Yeah, March 26th? Does that work for you? Yeah, great, okay. Next meeting will be March 26th, 6. And we'll call adjourn the meeting. Motion to adjourn.
Second,
I can't make a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn
Second.
as we pencil the dates in.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Aaron.